Hi there, Alfonso. Let's take a look at this new set of essays. It's the cars sold in European countries. Okay, the bar graph shows the number of cars sold by 3 different brands, Ford, Audi, and BMW, in 9 different countries in 2018. Ford reached its highest sales. It's S-A-L-E-S. Okay, you know the noun form. In Holland at 160,000 units. Okay. Closely followed by Hungary and France at 140,000 and 110,000, carefully missing an S, respectively. However, Italy was the country where fewer Ford cars were sold at 20,000 units. In 2018, while Audi sold well over 130,000 cars in Hungary and Germany, in the rest, you can't have while and while, so get rid of this while. In the rest of the countries, the number of sales did not go over 100,000. In Belgium, Audi sold just 5,000 cars. On the other hand, even the BMW's S' here, highest sales were in Hungary and Germany, both at 130,000 cars. Its sales were below 90,000 units in countries such as UK, Holland, Poland, and Italy. The lowest sales, again spelling, that BMW had were in Belgium at 5,000 units. Overall, as can be seen, Hungary was the country where, you need an H here, the largest number of cars were sold, no at, whereas Belgium was the one with the lowest number of sales. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this. First of all, the biggest problem for me is that you never talked about the totals. The reason they have done this stacked bar chart is because they're very interested in the whole. They're interested in the total cars sold in each country. That's the purpose of a chart like this. And then what they've done is they've kind of shown you within each big bar which cars and how many of those cars made up for that figure. So I'm afraid that you've focused on the wrong thing here. Should you focus on the individual car numbers within the countries? Yeah, of course you should. But that's not the entire point. You could have done that a lot more briefly, and you could have focused on the totals, okay? And it wasn't really very difficult to do. So really you just had to say that Hungary was close to 400,000. The lowest, Belgium, was far less. It was like 1/4 of that, okay? And the rest of the countries were, from Italy, were 120 to maybe 260,000. With Germany, only France exceeded 300,000 sales. Okay, so you didn't really have to say much more than that in terms of the countries. Okay, but you did have to mention the totals. I also want to I just want to make sure that you mentioned all the countries. And there's one other thing I want to talk about. Yeah, you didn't mention Ireland at all. You didn't even mention it as a name. So that's going to create a problem as well, because you've told me that there are 9 different countries, but you've only given me information about 8 of them. So I don't even know what that 9th country is. Now, I'm not saying that you have to supply lots of information about each country, but you do have to at least tell me what the categories are, okay? So those for me are the 2 big problems with this chart. Both errors will affect your task achievement score to a considerable extent. There was also some grammar stuff happening. You kept spelling sales wrong, so some of the language was a little awkward. Other than that, it was okay. So let's move on to your task 2. Okay, pollution problems. Let's see what you said. Experts from both the developed and developing world have debated whether pollution is the greatest problems cities have or not. Personally, I agree with the first idea. Okay. First of all, I agree, well, not with the first idea. Why don't we just say I agree that they are, or that it is, rather, because it's just pollution that we're talking about. I agree that it is. That's all. This essay will argue some of the reasons, get rid of the, then get rid of. So some of the reasons why large cities have this problem and how they can solve it, using examples from UK government and own ideas or suggestions. There is ample evidence of the increasing pollution large cities all over the world have suffered. The reason behind this is twofold. Firstly, since economical centers, not the, have been located in the largest cities of each country, the pollution of those cities has been is that even a word? Multiplicated? I don't believe so. It has expanded, it has increased, but not this word. Secondly, the increase of wealth of the people and the advances, you know what, I'm just going to read it the way I think it should be, and the advances of the automobile industry have made it possible for people or families to own more than one car. For example, an extensive study led by the UK government demonstrated that since 1990 the population of the largest cities has increased more than 25%, hence the number of cars. Okay, therefore it is clear that the rise of people in cities is related with the increase of pollution in those. Okay, that's a little confusing. So look at what you've said here. I understand, I think, what you're trying to say. You're trying to say that since there are more people in cities, there are also more cars in cities, and this is increasing our pollution. But the way you've connected your ideas is not really clear. So let me tell you where the problem is. First of all, you talk about the increasing wealth of people, and then you talk about people owning more than one car, but you never talk about those things again. Instead, what you tell me is that the population of cities have increased, and that as a result the number of cars has increased. So that is in no way connected to the sentence you wrote just before that. So that's really a problem with coherence and cohesion, okay? All right, so let's see. Also, don't forget even here to make that link that cars create emissions that are damaging to the environment. So you have to link that idea as well. So in order to solve the pollution problem, governments should focus on achieving two different aims: improving the public transport systems, making them more efficient and comfortable, and also making sure the internet connection reaches rural areas in order to let people work from home everywhere. Okay, this is largely because as fast and cheap public, let's try this better. The faster and cheaper public transport is, the more people will use it throughout cities. On the other hand, you see, here's the problem. You have these two ideas, and what you've done is you've talked about the ideas first, and then you talk about why you're supporting them. That's the wrong order. Instead, what I want you to do is give an idea and then support it. Give another idea and then support it. Okay? So, let's do that again. Government should focus on two different aims. Full stop. The first aim is to improve public transport systems, making them more efficient and comfortable. This is largely because the faster public transport is, the more people will use it throughout cities. Also, governments should make sure the internet connection reaches rural areas in order to let people work from their homes. Sure. And efficient internet connection will make it possible to work from small towns and villages, not being necessary for people to move into large cities to get a qualified position, preventing the use. Thus, you need a thus here, thus preventing the use, not really preventing, thus avoiding the use of a higher number of cars in large cities. Okay, do you see how the connection of your ideas makes more sense this way? From the arguments and examples given, I firmly believe pollution in large cities is a problem that governments must approach as soon as possible. It is predicted, careful, wrong word, that when governments become aware of the advantages of the importance of both transport and internet connection, the population in large cities will start moving to small towns where life is less expensive. No, we're not concerned with whether life is less expensive or not. We just want to reduce pollution. So focusing now on money and the expense is not relevant. And then they will move into small towns, and pollution in our cities will be less. That's all. Okay, so that's much more relevant. All right, Alfonso. So I think we've gone into some of the problems here. There were grammar problems. There were coherence and cohesion problems. So I need you to go ahead and fix them. All right, go ahead, correct these, bring them back to us corrected, and let's see what you write next time. All right, good luck.